Okay, so Flathead Ford fan. I bet you didn't know this, but you got to put oil in there. I didn't know because mine locked up yesterday. All the research and everything I've ever done on tinkering with my old car, I never knew that this thing had gear oil inside of it. When you rotate it around right here on the top, can't really see it in the dark right here, there's a little screw. Okay, so let me explain to you what it's all about. So just one more time, so I kind of explain it real clear to everybody. You got your fan on the car. It's all put together. You don't have to take it apart to check the fluid in it. All you need to do is rotate your fan until you see the screw. There's your filling screw, the flathead screw right there in the back. Okay, so all you do is get that screw straight up and down to the 12 o'clock position. Take that screw out, put about 2 ounces of fluid in it. Once you get the fluid in it, just rotate the fan 180 degrees and let the excess fluid drain out. Once it quits dripping, turn it back over to the 12 o'clock position and put your screw in. That shaft sticking up won't let you drain all the fluid out. It'll keep it right where it needs to be. Okay, this is the pieces for the fan on my 47. It's got an 8BA in it. This is the shaft that bolts to the bracket. Okay, so you got your generator sitting there, and then this bracket bolts on the front like so. All right, slides up and down. This shaft goes in that bracket, so it's hard mounted to the car. Now what this shaft is, you see there in the front there's a groove, and the business end of it on the back side, there's that groove there, and as you see, it spirals in there and then spirals along this shaft to the end of it, and then it's got these grooves here. So the way this action works, this is the hub mechanism. Okay, this is what rotates on the shaft as the fan is spinning. And then you have your pulley. Okay, there's that screw on the top of the pulley, that flathead screw. When you take that screw out, you'll see that little dowel looking thing there. When you pull that screw out, this does not come out with the screw. This is a hollow tube that presses up inside there. Okay, when it's all assembled sitting on the car, you're supposed to put it straight up at the 12 o'clock position and add about 2 ounces of 80-90 gear oil. Once you put some fluid in it, you're supposed to rotate it around to the bottom. And when you rotate it around, any excess fluid that you overfilled will drain itself out. So you pretty much have it sitting 12 o'clock, put about 2.5 ounces of 80-90 in it, rotate it over, and let it drain itself out. When the oil quits draining out, turn it back over and put your flathead screw back inside of it. See, the way this works is that fluid, can't really tell, but that inside piece is cone shaped. Okay, so that fluid will fill up in here, and it works its way up through these holes here. See, that goes on the pulley. The fluid will come up through these holes, and then the shaft, this one's seized up on me yesterday. I had to beat it out of here. See, the shaft sits in there. I don't want to press it in, or I'm gonna have to smack it with a hammer. And as that shaft spins around, it picks that gear lube up and pumps it through this shaft. And then when it comes through the shaft, there's these little holes here in the back side of it, and that's what these other grooves in the shaft are for. These grooves right here, once the oil or gear lube makes it to the end of the shaft, it'll work its way down to these grooves, and when it gets to those grooves, the centrifugal force of it slings the grease out of these holes. And once it gets slung out of this hole, it actually is at the back of this cone, so it'll get slung out in the very back there, and then work its way down this cone back into the front here. So it's a pretty smart idea the way that it was engineered back in the day. It's just one of those things, if you don't know about it, you never check it. And I never did. So pretty much all you do to rebuild one of these or to check it is your fan blade will be bolted on top of this. Take all the bolts out, and it's got these little half moon keepers on the back of it, go up under the back side there. So you take all your bolts out, you pull your fan off, and then you can take your, of course you're gonna have the bracket on the end of it. You'll have to take the bolts out of the bracket, and you see they're slotted there where the bolts go in it, so to keep it from spinning. But it's really not that big of a deal. But if you don't check the oil in it, it will lock up, because there's no bearings in here. And as you can see, it didn't get too bad, but you see about from here to the end, my shaft is just galled up. Yesterday was my first drive. I took it to the car club meet about 25 miles away from where I live, and fortunately for me, it locked up right as I was pulling into my neighborhood. So even though it was an unfortunate event, I kind of lucked out on it. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Hope that was informative to somebody out there. I've had my car for a few months now and tried to grease up everything on it, check all the fluids I could, but the fan blade is something I just didn't know about. So if you're getting into the early Ford vehicles, some of them are direct mounted, some of them are made different, but a lot of them are made this way, and it's really crucial that you check to make sure that it has fluid in there, because the shaft can lock up on it, and it's going to do one of two things. The shaft will lock up, and you're going to break a belt if you're lucky. I have read a few stories where the shaft will get so bad that it gets so hot that the shaft will actually break in half, and then you have a fan eating your radiator, and you don't want that. So this is Mike from Porter Custom Works with the North Texas Early V8 Club. Happy motoring.